to start the afternoon session. The good news is we're nearly there, and we have a great lineup for the afternoon. The first is the Innovation Awards, and I welcome Cork's most famous son, Andy O'Donoghue, to take us through the Innovation Award winners. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
So I have some guests. Good afternoon, everyone. And obviously lunch is way too good because we're waiting for people to come back. But I have Richard and Jordan and Kevin. Come on up there and we'll get started. So these are, I don't know if you, so obviously it's not a secret anymore, but Fixium won the Innovation Award. And Kevin and Jordan were also nominated. So the first thing I want to say is congratulations and well done. Tremendous achievement. And by the way, for all of you being nominated for this award, I mean, you know, at this point there's unicorns in there, in the nominees from previous years and the winners, which is tremendous. We'll start, though, we'll come back to Richard in a minute and Fixium. But Jordan, we'll start with you. And it feels like you mentioned that we met each other years ago. I looked away and you grew up in the meantime. And, but I think that was the Web Summit, but that's about 12 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. And so, I mean, some people will be familiar with your backstory and the tremendous kind of early start you had in the tech business. Tell us what you're doing now.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey anyway. For me, my background is in software engineering and I have a huge passion for technology. And my passion with technology has always been surrounding the solving of problems. And so for the last 5 years, I've been working in the mental health sector here in Ireland. And for the last year, I've been the CEO of MindPath. So MindPath is an online mental health platform that specializes in ADHD, autism, and dual assessments, all online. We see ourselves as a little bit of a hybrid between a technology company where we develop our own pre-screening technology and digital tools and processes, and a clinic as well, where we have a full team of clinicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, providing assessments and support.
Why did you start this business?
Again, it really does go back to my interest in solving problems. I've worked in a number of different areas, and when I got exposure to the mental health sector, I realized that there is a lot of good that technology can do. And also, I know we spoke about it a lot the last few days, but AI too. Not to, I suppose, replace the role of the clinician, but I suppose to enhance and support it. How we can mitigate admin tasks, to streamline processes, to ultimately increase patient capacity. And yeah, I suppose it came from wanting to solve that problem.
And I presume part of this is addressing the problem of, you know, waiting list. Public system is one thing, but even private access is significant waiting list, isn't there?
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, there's a huge supply and demand issue right now, and I suppose that is to solve how can we increase the capacity without overworking clinicians, but to get the same output. And I suppose with what we're doing now in the private sector, it's trying to prove that concept model for something that could be spearheaded into public health.
Uniquely operating in Ireland at the moment?
Yeah, we're Irish-based right now.
Do other markets and with the clinicians, does that present a problem or a challenge, or when do you plan on looking beyond Ireland even?
I think it's something that we would like to stabilise here in Ireland first, but the technology that we've built, the pre-screening tool, I think is something that is easily translatable. I think we look at the UK as a very similar market to ourselves. Obviously, it's a lot more mature, but I still think they have a lot of the structural, infrastructural issues that we have and face here. So it's a little bit of a while away, but we'll try to get there eventually.
Okay, fascinating. Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Next, Kevin from Evident Med, which is the best name, and congratulations on the nomination. I have an understanding somewhat that you take data, you assemble it, you take structured, unstructured, but you give it back, or you create the opportunity for access to clinical trials, and so the onboarding of clinical trials. Is that what you do? And if not, explain to us exactly what Evident do.
Yeah, no, Andy, I think that's kind of the primary focus in terms of what we're doing. I suppose it's probably very relevant, I think, to the Irish market in terms of we're able to ingest any form of data, be it from an EHR, which obviously isn't so mature in the Irish market, but we can take it from any system. You know, I think we heard a lot over the last kind of day and a half. There is a lot of data available, but a lot of it is unusable. A lot of it is in a unstructured format or still paper-based. So we can ingest paper scans. So if there are paper charts or paper documentation, we can scan those in. We can read those. For example, we're working with a site in Portugal. We're pulling information from nine data sources, and what we're doing is we're then structuring that and kind of creating a longitudinal patient record. And the kind of first use case that we're focused on is clinical trials. So you can then upload your clinical trial protocol. And typically it could take maybe between 12 and 18 months to complete recruitment. And essentially we can do that in a matter of hours in terms of identifying those eligible patients.
And so Jordan was very careful, I suppose, early on explained the problem that he was fixing. And is that the problem that Evident is fixing? The time to clinical trial, or?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. I think it's making it more accessible. And I suppose, I think from an Irish healthcare standpoint, it's to put Ireland on the map in terms of being able to attract more clinical trials. I think if we look at, say, a country like Denmark, I know somebody touched upon it in a presentation earlier. I think it was on the imaging piece, but similar population. I think last year they conducted 387 clinical trials, and we're lagging behind at 113. And a lot of that is around kind of feasibility in terms of identifying patients that you have already in your database. I don't know, I spoke to Richard a little bit about it earlier, but you have a pharmaceutical company that's looking to run a trial, and it's still done in a very old-fashioned manner. They're contacting a PI in a site that they've worked with before, and they're saying, okay, how many patients have you got? And it's still very much a guesstimate. You're saying, well, maybe I have 20, but we're not really sure. So what we can do in that case is companies can send out the trial protocol. We can run it through the system, and we can send them back fully anonymized in terms of actually how many patients are on that site. So it really helps from a feasibility standpoint, and then also from a site selection standpoint as well.
Who are your customers going to be? Is it pharma? Is it government? Is it clinics? Who?
Yeah, I suppose it's a kind of a double-ended market in terms of research centers, hospitals would be kind of our primary target, and then I suppose your kind of pharmaceutical industry essentially that's kind of running the trials or sponsoring the trials as well.
And same question I asked Jordan. Are you operating uniquely in Ireland at the moment?
Yeah,
apart from you mentioned Portugal.
We have one site in Portugal,
yeah,
and we're just working with Cancer Trials Ireland now to roll this out across the 22 cancer sites in Ireland. And we're also at the moment in negotiation with a number of sites in the NHS, but nothing signed in the UK.
But this is a very geographical friendly business, I would presume.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, kind of totally scalable globally.
Yeah.
In terms of it can work in any country. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic, Kevin. Thank you. And then on to Richard and Fixium, and my understanding, Fixium started as a spin-out from the RCSI. So, and now here you are. We'll come back to raising money and all of that. But I presume, was this a fund, some research that had been going on at RCSI? Tell us the story.
Yeah, well, a bit like Jordan, I'm a clinician, and I saw a problem. And that problem was that the tools that we use to do our day-to-day work are very inefficient, grounded from 50 years ago. And their imprecision, it tends to lead to an awful lot of wasted prescription of medicines that may be not wanted. And that's an opportunity cost, because when you're giving the medicine to the wrong person, you don't have the funds or budget to give to the right people, and you're not getting the great outcomes. So I could see that as a clinician. So you're a problem solver from the point of view of a software. I'm seeing it from a clinician point of view. But like you harnessed clinicians, we've done the same in the sense that I had a clinical problem, but I needed technical people to solve it. So what we do is efficiently identify the right people for medicines and get them on them quicker. And we spotted a long time ago, and I guess I was lucky because I'm a practicing clinician, that there was a series of medicines being developed that hadn't come to market yet, but I could see that they were being developed, that were going to be very expensive, and that we were going to have to work out how to prescribe them efficiently. So over about a 10-year period, we did a lot of research trying to validate the tools that we used. You know, your biggest threat is inertia, you know, because people have been using the tools of whatever, it doesn't matter the technical parts of it, but the old style tools that they've used, it kind of worked for them.
Yeah.
And they didn't really see that they were not as efficient.
Yeah.
And so we had to go and prove it in randomized trials. So that took time. So we ended up doing a couple of randomized trials, about 5 randomized trials, but the most successful of them showed, that we published in Lancet Respiratory, showed that we reduced per person cost for a person with asthma going on one of these new medicines with severe asthma, severe and uncontrolled asthma, from €6,000 to €3,000. Wow. So a 50%, you know, so that's a lifetime
Yeah.
saving of 250,000.
Yeah.
Because once you go on one of these medicines, you're on them
Yeah.
for a very long time. So based with all of that research, we spun out from RCSI.
Okay. The randomized trials, over what period of time were they conducted?
2015, sorry, we started 2012, but the big one, 2015, thankfully, we closed the database more or less closed the database in March of 2020. Very significant time because trying
Yeah.
to do trials on asthma patients
Sure.
in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
So we were very fortunate, but it means a long time to do
Yeah.
trials. You know?
The illustration that there is no overnight success in this kind of endeavor, is there? You know. So then, okay, research, randomized trials. We have research. I presume you got Enterprise Ireland's commercialization fund,
There-
and so that spin out. When was the spin out process?
So well, as a respiratory doctor, I had to sort of go into a bit of a hibernation during
Yeah.
COVID. And then we got the COM fund, I think, 22, and we bootstrapped for a while after the COM fund. Because, you know, you were saying, like, you had sort of software background, you know, we had clinical background, we had to develop a software, and then so we developed the software, and then it was a question of bootstrapping, getting some, and the HSE innovation people initially, Martin Curley, and then more recently the team that's followed on were incredibly supportive. They were really helpful, got us, but we also had some local contacts, and we built some users really just to see how they would work with the product. And then we got investment this time last year.
Yeah. And now, okay, so the investment comes, but now you have a presence in a number of HSE
Yeah.
hospitals.
Yeah.
How many?
Sort of around 15, 17.
I mean, that's a big step. That's a big achievement.
Thank you.
And so, tremendous starting point, Innovation Award. You're here today. What happens tomorrow and next year?
Well, there's two parts. One is it is scalable into other healthcare systems, and you were saying, you know, the UK is very analogous to Ireland, so that's our next plan. Take the product and bring it over to the UK. And then the second is really to develop new applications for our software. So it's extraordinary, actually, just as sort of a segue, but asthma is unbelievably commonly mischaracterized. Some people are told they have asthma and they don't, and some people aren't recognized as having asthma because the tools that we use to identify it are really very old and they're very antiquated, and they're totally susceptible to digital technologies, not even AI, but just simple digital technology, remote monitoring, good data analysis with very transparent analysis. You can make that diagnosis, and suddenly then that opens up a useful diagnostic market into general practice, into the hubs, and so our one scale is to go out to the UK, and the other is to increase the packages.
Yeah, okay, so that's where the reach begins to, okay.
Yeah.
Just going to ask the three of you about IP from your perspective. A lot of talk, I know everyone's talking about AI in healthcare, particularly over the last 12 months. But from an IP perspective, say, Kevin, from your perspective, how are you protected? Has the IP been important? Where, kind of within your research and the work you're doing, how important, how unique can you be in the market?
Yeah, I think we do have a proprietary algorithm which we've designed ourselves in-house, which does give us some security on that. But I think, you know, for us, I think really it's about, you know, I think kind of building the trust. I think for us is kind of more important. I think trust kind of within the healthcare systems as well, I think is really, really important. And I think for us, and again, a little bit like Jordan touched on as well, we're not trying to fully automate anything. There's always going to be a human involved in the final decision. And I think for us, kind of what's really important on that is having a very clear audit trail. So we're presenting information, but to actually be able to click on that, and that'll bring you to the exact point where that is. I mean, we do have IP around the algorithm, but I would say a lot of that is maybe not the most important thing in terms of us kind of, I think, growing the business or expanding into other areas. And I think as well, maybe like Richard said, for us as well, we see a kind of the next step after kind of working with hospitals is probably expanding into that primary care or that GP setting as well. And then I think it's something that's, you know, always kind of commonly spoken about, not just in Ireland, but in many countries, about having one single patient record for an individual, from your GP, from your primary care center, from your hospital. And I think it's probably relevant to what you said, Richard, around maybe patients with asthma as well. A lot of those patients are treated by their GP. And for us, it's about broadening that base for clinical trials, actually having those patients now visible and have them participate in trials as well.
Gotcha. And it's a we might ask Jordan a similar question, just in relation to your IP and the uniqueness of the service that you've offered. How does it lend yourself to, bigger, better customers, if you know what I mean, expanding in the scale you need?
Yeah, I think obviously the protection element is very important. Similarly, we do have a proprietary setup as well, but at the same time, we're also leveraging and licensing existing tools and methodologies. And essentially, what we think separates us is the amalgamation of the tech side and the clinical side and how that works together. So we have a very specific clinical process. We use we call it the Mind Pathway essentially. And it's all down to our clinical governance, how we conduct the assessments, the tools that we use in the background to be able to speed up and to save time. But yeah, look, we do leverage existing scales. We have to. Obviously, there's always been traditional difficulties with protecting software and code as it is, but we protect ourselves as much as we can, and I suppose that's the main thing.
Just finally, Richard, just to come back to you. So as a practicing clinician, does this mean I suppose you build an infrastructure, you have a CEO, Grace, you have an organization. Are you going to continue to practice, or where do you go with the business yourself from now?
Yeah, no, I would see myself continuing as a clinician because it's my lab, and that's the day job. I have a small amount of time that I can take away from the clinic to be the CMO within the company, but I see it absolutely central. All of the medicine changes, like we kind of have the sense that there's an inertia and nothing's happening. It changes all the time, and if you're not watching it, you're not relevant. So for me, it's really important to be clinically active.
And so, as have all of you been funded, by the way? Just
we're bootstrapped. So.
Are you bootstrapped so far? Yeah.
No, yeah, we've been we bootstrapped last January. We launched in April, and we've been very lucky now. We've had thousands of patients in the last year, so we have the control, and I think that's an important part for us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And Kevin, you have Enterprise Ireland funding, or did you raise seed money?
No, we were funded by Enterprise Ireland and the
Okay.
PSSF in December. The end of December last year, we had bootstrapped up to that point. And then I think, look, it depends on how quickly we want to scale and how quickly we want to move internationally in terms of raising funding. But I think for now, I think we would like to try and bootstrap for as long as possible. But I think eventually we will look to raise.
It's a really from an audience perspective, it's a really diverse mix of companies. So Jordan bootstrapping, you with PSSF and EI, and Richard and Fixium HPSU, but also the ComFund as well. So it's a great story. 3 remarkable companies. Congratulations again to all of you, to Jordan, Kevin, and Richard. Thanks for being here, and thanks for telling the stories.
Thanks, William.
Thank you. You go that way.
Thanks. So our final panel, and thanks for that, Andy. Can you hear me? Yep. Our final panel is on the connected wellness generation, how tech, content, and community drives longer, healthier lives. And I'd like to invite the first speaker up. Gavin Whelan is CEO of Technogym Ireland, is a graduate of University College Dublin, a diploma in sports management, and is going to talk to us about the great work they're doing in Ireland. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you, Tom. Thank you to David and all the team at InvestNet for the opportunity to tell you guys a little bit about Technogym, who we are, what we do, and a little bit about the local representation here in Ireland. So Technogym is based in Cesena in Italy. This is a picture here of our global headquarters. They have been around in existence since 1983 and was founded by 2 brothers, Nerio and Pierluigi Alessandri. starting in a small garage in Cesena, and over the last 42 years has grown to what you can see there, which is the Technogym Village, which is an amazing place that I would invite anybody who, like, my presentation is going to be around collaboration and ways that we can potentially work with the healthcare sector in Ireland, because there is a merging coming between the fitness industry and the healthcare sector. And I would invite anybody with ideas around that to come and visit the Technogym headquarters. My team here in Ireland will be more than happy to accommodate those interested. So a couple of pictures of kind of the exterior and interior of the Technogym Village. And I'm going to play a quick video just to kind of give you guys a visual sort of insight into what Technogym does on a day-to-day basis. So this will be a couple of minutes long, but hopefully it'll give you guys a good understanding.
Health and the search for healthy longevity are increasingly an everyday priority for us all. And there is scientific evidence that regular physical exercise is fundamental to a longer and healthier life. In 1983, with the dream of getting the world moving again, Nerio Alessandri founded Technogym in his home garage. Over 4 decades, Technogym developed a holistic ecosystem that is entirely unique, offering a personalized training experience based on one's needs, targets, and passions, from fitness to sport to health. Thanks to the Technogym Coach and integration of artificial intelligence, the Technogym app offers daily personalized programs that can be easily accessed anywhere. At home, at the gym, in the office, in a hotel, at the doctor, and outdoors. The new Technogym Checkup analyzes physical and cognitive data and defines a wellness age while creating a personalized program to continuously improve. The MoverG Index is a personal movement index that keeps track of results and motivates the user to move more and more frequently. The connected products of Technogym offer a fully personalized experience with a large selection of training and entertainment programs. The Technogym ecosystem allows industry operators to follow their clients' complete progress and ensure they achieve better results in less time. Exercise is medicine. This is the result of 4 decades of scientific research from the best universities in the world. Technogym's Medical and Scientific Research Centre has developed Technogym medicine protocols to treat a wide range of health conditions through precise exercise posology delivered scientifically through the Technogym ecosystem. Technogym also represents passion for sport, stemming from experience gained alongside the best athletes in the world and in the last 9 editions of the Olympic Games. Technogym's experience in the world of sport, health and fitness, together with its scientific research and use of the most advanced digital technology, has led to the creation of its precision training. This identifies in minute details the needs of each and every individual. The Technogym Village is the throbbing heart of Technogym, the wellness campus where Technogym experience is created through a unique alchemy of Italian design, technology, and passion. Every day, 70 million people train with Technogym in 100,000 wellness centres and 500,000 homes across the planet. Join Technogym and millions of people who, just like you, believe in wellness as a chance to create a better world. Let's move for a better world. Healthy people, healthy planet.
Sorry for the long video, but I think it gives you a good insight into who Technogym are. So Technogym is founded on 3 pillars, which is exercise, nutrition, and a positive mindset. And we very much view exercise as therapy. So they also categorize, they understand that not everybody is the same, and people are entering into a fitness journey at various different times, and they have various different passions and various different wants and needs. So we have a tailored experience for every type of user. So that could be from fitness to wellness to sport and to health. So the programming and information that we share across those different demographics is very much tailored or personalized to the user. I'm just going to go into a little bit about some of our social campaigns. So every year we do a campaign called Let's Move for a Better World. It's tracked through the Technogym app, and it has challenges and rewards based on social causes. Last year we had over 100,000 users across 1,500 facilities in 130 different countries. So there's the ability at scale for Technogym to make an impact globally. My selfish wants and needs are for Ireland here to try and connect with as many of you guys in the audience to try and look at ways that we can leverage the investment that Technogym have made over the last 40 years to try and make an impact at a national level here in Ireland. I'll speak a little bit about the Technogym Wellness Foundation. So this is separate to the company itself. The company is very much a for-profit company, whereas the Wellness Foundation is our non-profit kind of research and development arm of the business. Technogym is based in the Wellness Valley, which is in the Emilia-Romagna region, and it has kind of walked the walk, let's say, in their hometown, and they've improved active lifestyles in the Emilia-Romagna region. So just a couple of key facts and figures, which I think the video explained, but it's based on 40 years of history. It has so many millions, 5 million products in the marketplace. It has 40 million registered users. So the reason I'm kind of laboring this point is that we are a credible potential partner for people in the room that would see the trend, which is leaning towards the merging of the fitness and healthcare sector. So we're trying to position ourselves to be a partner or to be somebody that we can collaborate with you guys as healthcare professionals. Some of the key kind of metrics that Technogym have done over the years is we developed the first wellness cloud, so the first cloud-based system to track people's fitness and exercise. In 2024, the Technogym Checkup, which you can see out in the foyer, was launched, and that's very much a baseline tool for measuring people's ability levels across 6 different markers. So I'll go through that in a bit more information in the next slides. It's all backed by kind of proper patents and designs and trademarks. So it's, again, I'm focusing in on the credibility of the brand. Everything that we do in Technogym is backed with scientific research. We have a team full of doctors, professors, sports scientists, exercise professionals, and we work with some of the best athletes in the world. So anything that we release has very much been through rigorous testing. So it would stack up in terms of the healthcare sector also. Many champions train with Technogym, so across our partners network with different team sports and obviously the Olympic Games. We've been a partner of the Olympic Games for the last 10 editions. There's just a quick video of just some of the people who are using Technogym on a daily basis that would you guys would all recognize. So again, from a kind of a marketing and credibility standpoint, it's easier to get people familiar with the brand when you've got these kind of names and faces and brands beside you every day. So I'll flick through that because I'm conscious that the time is running down. I probably don't need to tell you guys in the room about these statistics, but you can see here that cancer as a cause is relating to 10 million deaths annually. We know that an active regular exercise can reduce the chances of cancer by 33%. You look at cardiovascular diseases affecting 18.5 million deaths annually, and we know that that can be reduced by 80% with regular exercise. And then you look at type 2 diabetes affecting 500 plus million people, and again, regular exercise. And when I say regular exercise, it's not like just jump on a treadmill or go out for a walk. It's specific programmed exercise that is specific to the person's need. Technogym, I believe, or we believe, is the only fitness company out there in the market that can actually credibly stand over the pathology of those programs. So it's all backed with research and science. What it does is also lets us touch the user or the patient or the member at every different touch point in their life. So whether that's at the gym, at a hotel, at home, they use the Technogym app to continue on their fitness journey or their healthcare journey. So our vision is to enable 100 million people worldwide to live the Technogym experience, and the only way we can do that is by partnerships. So we're here today, and we will continue to be here every year to try and encourage people to partner with Technogym as a credible operator. The strategy with Technogym on the Go is to make fitness and wellness accessible to people everywhere they are. The approach is to become a business partner. There's no shame in having a business in healthcare, in helping people to live longer, happier, healthier lifestyles. And Technogym see a huge opportunity in this patient to member journey, which I think the healthcare sector produces a really unique opportunity in that space. How we would do that with people in the room is we would become a consulting partner. So we would help you with making sure that you have success in your facilities, making sure that we design the facilities according to the needs of the patient or the member. We would help to educate staff on how to use the equipment, how to program the equipment, all the back-end features that the Technogym ecosystem has. And then if you guys needed help to actually run that facility, if you had space in your public or private healthcare facilities, we could come in and do some facility management contracts for you guys as well. As I said, it all starts with the Technogym checkup, which I'd encourage you to have I know it's probably too late now, but you've probably seen it over the last couple of days. It gives a very good sort of member-focused or patient-focused look at somebody's wellness age. So over the 6 markers that we test for, we come out with a wellness age, which helps people to understand where they are in that journey, and it allows us to give personalized programming to the patient or to the member. That's then powered by the Technogym app, so it means that you can go in and have a personalized program generated by AI based on your Technogym checkup scores. I'll go a little bit into the customer journey. So it starts with the operator. We can automate all the journeys from a new patient or a new member so that they receive the information that they need at the given time. The trainer will be there to help, whether that's virtually or whether it's in person in a facility. And then the consumer has access to the full Technogym app at any given point in time. We are an open platform, so we integrate with all of the major CRM or ERP systems that are used in the healthcare industry. And we use a lot of the kind of Apple Health or Garmin, Fitbit, Strava. We connect with a lot of or nearly every single one of the prevalent tracking and wearables that are out there in the market. And my time is up, but I'll fly through these really quick. This is just the way we would do it: profiling, health history, assessment and prescribing, exercise anywhere, coaching, tracking, challenges and rewards. And this is just a quick video to summarize everything that I've just spoken about. If it plays. So in the back end of the system, you can see that we can check a person's health history, and that will be on their profile. So if they have a bad hip or they have knee or they have cardio issues, it can all be entered into their profile so that we can make sure that the exercise is specific to that person. We can add in medication, so we can work with local GPs as well to make sure that we have a total view of the patient's health history. We'll do an assessment, which will give the patient their baseline. And we know, and you guys know in the room, that the 2 kind of great markers are around VO2 max and 1 rep max for people's longevity in terms of testing. So we'll be able to help with that as well. There's different programs that are preset and built in the app, so we can assign based on the user's preference. And it's all automated and tracked. So you could turn up at a facility, not know how to use a machine. You log in with your phone or a wearable, and the machine will basically talk you through exactly what to do with very much gamified kind of ways of doing things. And you're coached the whole way through the process. And then obviously you're retesting again to show improvements over time. Sorry for the cheesy videos, but they are a sales company at the end of the day. So that's Technogym. I will leave you with a video that I feel is very poignant and very, I think it sums up what we are trying to do, which is to live longer, live healthier, and live happier lives. And this is from the Canadian Heart Foundation that we use in all of our presentations.
What will your last 10 years look like? Will you be quick enough for a game of tag with your grandchild? Strong enough to embrace every moment? Will you grow old with vitality? Or get old with disease? It's time to decide.
Thanks a million for everybody's attention, and I look forward to chatting to you later on the panel.
Stark choices in that video anyway. Thanks, Gavin. Our next speaker is Dr. Mary Collins. I'm really excited to hear what she has to say. Mary is a chartered psychologist, author and speaker in leadership and coaching. She works in RCSI's Centre for Positive Health, and really look forward to her discussion. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Afternoon. How are the energy levels? Great to be here. My thanks to David and the team. It's been a stellar lineup so far today, and I'm really thrilled to be here for this session to talk about. We're going to look at the intergenerational lens of this work, and in particular zoning in on our youngest workplace generation, Gen Z. So, just very briefly, a little bit about my background. I am a chartered psychologist and a leadership coach. And for the last 10 years, I have been working in the Royal College of Surgeons Centre for Positive Health Sciences. So we bring together positive psychology, lifestyle medicine, health coaching, and we're very interested in the prevention of chronic disease. I run the professional diploma in leading workplace health and well-being. So there's my shameless plug. If anyone wants to go back to college, part-time, 9 months, level 9. And that's all about creating positive workplace cultures where people can really thrive. And for the last 10 years, I've been researching and writing about the intergenerational workplace, because it's a very exciting time and challenging time for those of us, particularly in healthcare, where we have 3, 4, if not 5 generations working side by side. So my doctoral thesis was published in that first book, Managing Professionals and Other Smart People. And I'm going to share a little bit around some of my findings with you this afternoon. Essentially, there is a great opportunity having people at different life stages. And I'm even scanning the audience here, and I think we do have an intergenerational audience today, which is wonderful. However, it can also pose a lot of challenge. And the challenges tend to come in 3 key areas. Firstly, communication. Have you tried to ask a teenager to make a phone call recently? Digital tech-enabled communication versus the more face-to-face communication preferences. Secondly, how people want to learn. Attention spans are now 7 seconds for adults. In the year 2000, it was 23 seconds. So our attention is radically declining. Learning should be laser focused, tech enabled, micro sessions work best. And the third area of challenge is around how people want to be managed and led. Younger generations want to work with you, not for you. So we've just completed a national academic study on intergenerational leadership in the Irish Health Service, looking at people at different life stages and how can we get the best from people at different life and career stages. And the key message is the need to flex and adapt our approach. So you might be curious, what generation are you part of? Don't worry, I won't ask anyone to reveal their generation. But broadly speaking, we have 4 generations in the current workforce. The baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y or millennials, and Gen Z or centennials. And if you're in a pub quiz and you're asked, what's the next generation coming through? It is Gen Alpha. Yes, Gen Alpha. And they are truly the children of the pandemic, and they're the AI generation. So again, will require different supports, particularly in the workplace. But what is an intergenerational cohort? It's individuals who share common events and experiences when they are born within the same historical period and the same socio-cultural context. It's an inborn way of experiencing life and the world. So if you take a 24-year-old and a 48-year-old, would you agree they have grown up in very different worlds? Yes, absolutely. And I think it's important for us to raise awareness and understanding of those formative experiences. What was going on when you were growing up with technology, in the geopolitical landscape, the global economy? Parenting styles have played a key role. So just to get us, I'm conscious it's the afternoon, it's after lunch, to get us in the mindset of Gen Z, and I'm sure we've a few in the room, born 1995 up to 2010, but for those who are not Gen Z, let's see how good you are around understanding Gen Z slang. So, can I invite you to turn to whoever's beside you, 1 minute, let's see how many of these you can get right. Ivan, you look bemused. Okay, we'll start with a nice easy one. Goat. Greatest of all time, yes. IKR? I know, right? Yes. What does CAP mean? And it's not the Common Agricultural Policy, Gen Xers. What does CAP mean? Fake. It's a lie. Yeah, an untruth. And it's said with the nod of a head. That's CAP. Or capping. Yeah. What's Loki? Once you hear this, you will not unhear it. My sister-in-law in Sydney has 2 teenage boys. They say it all the time as well. Does anyone not have a clue what this is? A lot of you. What does low-key mean? It's like, yeah. Here we, it's hard to explain. It's like kind of, yeah. Riz. Charisma, presence, you've got the Riz, yeah. Mentee bee was the most used Gen Z slang word in the US last year. What's a mentee bee? Mental breakdown. Said in the context of, I'm having a mentee bee doing my assignment. I'm having a mentee bee. Now, do we need to know this? Yes, we do. Every generation has their own slang. Gen Z slang, the social psychology research is fascinating. It's emerging from LGBTQ+, Black Lives Matter, and it's much more abbreviated than previous generations. And one of my key messages today is let's raise our understanding and awareness, particularly of the younger generations. So I've already mentioned the challenges, the strengths of intergenerational collaboration. I love when I go into an organization, and I've worked cross-sectorally, globally, working in this space for the last 10 years. Diverse perspectives the levels of innovation increase, performance, happiness at work when we have diverse teams. And particularly in intergenerational surgical teams, we've greater levels of resilience. So older workers tend to steady the ship. Mentorship opportunities and building adaptability and resilience. So just to zone in our short time, I want to focus in on the youngest generation in the workplace. What do we know about Gen Z? Digital in their DNA. These are the people who've grown up swiping iPads. The first truly global and socially interconnected generation, passionate about social justice. And this generation, I believe, were the hardest hit during the global pandemic. Would you agree? Missing the last year in school, the first year in university, even the last year of primary school, all of those formative experiences they have missed. They have access to so much information. Here's my cheeky slide. There is an infodemic out there, so much information. But what we know about Gen Z is they are lacking a lot of the critical judgment and analysis to deal with all of that information. So I wanted to share 2 data points with you. The first one, this was a large-scale European study where Europeans were asked to report their health as poor or very poor by a particular dimension of health. I want to draw your attention to the black dot, that's our Gen Zs, and the purple dot, which is the baby boomer generation. Gen Z ranked their mental health 5 times poorer than the baby boomer generation. Their spiritual health, that's purpose and meaning in life, 4 times. In fact, the only scale they're not the lowest on is physical health, because they're all into their protein shakes and going to the gym and their acai bowls. They're drinking less alcohol, they're having less sex. Is there a nightclub left in this country? So physically, very, very healthy. But here's the thing, there is a loneliness epidemic. Who are the loneliest age range now? 18 to 24-year-olds. The most digitally connected, but the loneliest. Another data point, emotional intelligence we would expect in someone in their 20s to be lower because it tends to peak mid to late 40s. However, Gen Z are scoring significantly lower on 3 scales. Number 1, independence, taking initiative. Number 2, problem solving, critical analysis. And number 3, sadly, this generation are exhibiting the lowest levels of stress tolerance we've ever seen in a generation. What are they looking for in a workplace? For those of you who want to recruit and retain, importantly, do you know the average tenure now for a Gen Z employee? 1.1 year. It's like a revolving door. How can we retain this generation for longer? And I was on a podcast about 2 weeks ago with a Gen Z, and I thought, oh gosh, is she going to challenge me on these stats? And she said, I mentioned that fact, and she said, yeah, she said, I'm 25 and this is my 4th job. That's me, Mary. What does this mean for healthcare? Only 6% of Gen Z want leadership roles. Lots of challenges. What are they looking for? How can we get the best from the younger generations? Supportive leadership, leaders who care about my well-being, about my career. Secondly, positive relationships at work. And thirdly, flexibility, work-life balance, really important. Now, parents in the room, show of hands, who are parents? Right, a moment of reflection. When we consider why are we seeing some of these behaviors? Are you a helicopter parent, hovering over your offspring? You're wonderful, you're amazing, you can be whatever you want. Or perhaps you're the Black Hawk parent, Professor Gary Cooper, the combative helicopter. You know those parents on the sidelines who are like combative? Or the latest one now published in The Atlantic this year, the trailing parent. So in the US, there's a phenomenon where parents are buying accommodation adjacent to campus. And in Northwestern Medical School, a mother sat beside her daughter for 4 years of medical school, came to every lecture. So what's that going to do? And my colleague, Professor Jolanta Burke, talks about the snowplow parent, clearing the way. You will have no adversity because I'm 1 step ahead, clearing the path. So what can we do? I wanted to share one key strategy that all of the studies show is the most effective way to leverage the strengths of an intergenerational workforce. And for budget holders, you'll like this, it is low cost and high impact. What is it? It is mentoring. Now, most of us will be familiar, and many in this room will be mentors, the traditional model where an older person shares their wisdom with a younger person. I want to flip that on the head today and introduce and invite you all to consider reverse mentoring. So reverse mentoring is when you are mentored by somebody from a younger generation. So my mentor is a 26-year-old occupational psychologist, and she supports me. We meet about every 6 weeks, and I'll call her Anne. Anne, help me with Instagram. Is it a post, a reel, or a story? What do I do? Help me with my social communication. And then we will sometimes flip into reciprocal mentoring, where I will support her with her psychology career development. And I just wanted to share just a very quick Irish case study. I did a presentation at a health conference about 3 years ago now, and I got a call after from Professor Alan Goldman, who's the CMO of Children's Health Ireland. We heard from Lucy earlier. Alan is a proud baby boomer. He worked in Great Ormond Street for 30 years. And he said, Mary, I would really like to have a reverse mentor. Will you help me set it up? The other person in the picture is Dr. Taffy, as she likes to be known, Ireland's first female paediatric surgeon. Taffy is a proud millennial. And Taffy was Alan's mentor for 1 year. And they both said it was the most rich learning experience that they had. And it was topped and tailed. I was with them the first and the last session. So here's a picture of us closing the mentoring program. And that's the thing with mentoring. It tends to have two key flaws, pitfalls. One is there's no training. People are told, off you go now, mentor, mentee. And the second, that it's not time bound. So we marked the end of this mentoring relationship. So my final thought to leave you with is we need to remember across the generations there is as much to learn as there is to teach. Thank you very much for your time and attention.
I think Mary just did us a solid, giving us some support there. Yeah, sorry, trying out one of those words. So our next speaker up is Dr. Ivan Murray, Consultant General Adult Psychiatrist and Medical Director of Neuromed Clinic. He has an expertise in ADHD and is the Medical Director and Co-Founder of Neuromed Clinic Ireland and Neuromed Clinic Canada. And he'll tell us all about it. Thank you.
Can you hear me? How do I get this thing? What do I do next? Okay. Thank you. Thanks very much for the team for inviting me. It's been a very interesting, very rewarding day. I've met a lot of people from different aspects. Technogym springs to mind, and it's been a very enjoyable and rewarding day. You can just see the collaboration potential of various strands coming together. And of course, then they bring in the psychiatrist. That's myself. So we're almost done. It's okay. Today, we're very used to, if I was going to ask the audience about advances in other areas of life, I think we're all used to our phones advances. There's other technological advances that we're aware of. But actually, if I was going to ask for the future, maybe advance in psychiatry, you might come back with maybe different psychotherapy approaches, maybe different medication. But actually, there's been some very, very impressive technological advances in psychiatry and in the treatment of neuropsychiatric disorders. So in a few minutes we have today, I'm just going to bring it through some of them. Okay. The first one is transcranial magnetic stimulation, thankfully shortened to TMS. In its current form, this has been around since the 1980s, Professor Barker's work. It's approved, regulatory approval from the FDA in the mid-2000s, and then the NICE committee in the UK followed thereafter. Initially for treatment-resistant depression, so that anyone who had failed 1 or 2 trials of antidepressants, it would be an appropriate next step. The reason being is that roughly 2/3 of people respond to TMS, irrespective of what antidepressant trials did or did not work before. It's a very important strategic tool to consider. And we actually also employ in our clinics an advanced form. So we have clinic, as has been mentioned, we have clinics in Canada, and I have a clinic in Dublin, and we've just opened the clinic in Galway. And the TMS machine is accessible in all three of those locations. But the original FDA approval was for resistant depression, as I said, and anxiety. Now, we also employ an advanced form of TMS where it's called EEG guided. So basically, if you do an EEG, it's like a brain map. And it's to do about regulating brain patterns and resynchronizing of brain patterns. So that if we can resynchronize brain patterns, functionality can accrue thereafter. So we employ this for symptoms of traumatic brain injury, post-concussion syndrome, and for features of autistic spectrum. And the results are surprisingly good. An emerging market is the wellness market. So this is for cognitive health, brain performance, cognitive performance in general, and I believe TMS will play a role. And as you can see, it's a very wide role that TMS can actually offer in this whole field. Why would you use it? Well, maybe I should first explain how it works. Probably easier. So effectively, if you refer to the photograph there, this lady is the BTL Exomind, which actually is on display here as well. But this lady is sitting very comfortably. The coil is attached to her scalp, and what's happening is there is an electromagnetic field of energy being emitted from the coil. It's washing over the prefrontal cortex, very superficial cells, and it's inducing three changes. One is biochemical, two is anatomical, and the third, which follows, is functional. And not just towards the targeted cells, but the cells at the pathway in which those cells sit. So if that happens to be in the emotional circuit, that emotional circuit functions more efficiently, or the anxiety circuit, and so forth. The symptoms reduce. So that's kind of the theory behind it. And it's outpatient delivered largely. So effectively, anyone sitting in this audience now can have TMS just as you're sitting there now, and I would expect the results to be very good. Why would you even consider it? Is a question we're asked all the time. It is non-pharmacological. So if we're looking at sort of intergenerational practice of medicine, increasingly the younger generations don't want medication. That's one issue. There are no systemic side effects to it whatsoever by the way it is delivered. So there's no weight gain, there's no hormonal changes, there's no organ damage of any kind, and never will be. But also, it's non-invasive. So as I said, it's office delivered. But there's an economic case, and repeatedly around the world, in every country that has ever examined the cost effectiveness of TMS as a modality, the cost savings in reduction of medication use, reduction in inpatient assessment, inpatient admission, return to work, return to psychosocial functionality, all the metrics point in one direction that as a positive for TMS. And the cost it takes to undergo a course of TMS therapy is usually accrued in about maybe 12 to 18 months later. So for those with insurance background, it's a conversation I think we need to be having increasingly, because as many people as we treat, there are as many that can't access it purely due to cost. Cost really is the main barrier to it. But it's not the only neuromodulation or advanced in psychiatry. This is transcranial direct current stimulation, TDCS. And Professor Alvaro Pasqualeone in the Beth Israel Deaconess, it's the neuromodulation program in Harvard. His team are quite excited about this device because of its portability. It miniaturizes the application of different energy fields. It is different than TMS in that it is more indirect. It washes the brain cells probably in more in serotonin as an indirect modulatory effect, as opposed to directly stimulating cells, which the TMS device does. So in that way, they are synergistic, and it is 6 to 8 weeks, usually. And again, no systemic side effects of any kind, very agreeable treatment. And the barrier really is just obtaining a device. This is vagus nerve stimulation. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body. Cranial nerve 10, X, speaking of X. And it innervates every system in the body. So it's implicated in inflammation. So when the vagal tone, as they say, is increased, the inflammatory process multisystemically is increased. So you want to reduce vagal tone. So one of the ways you might do that is with a device like this. You attach it to the auricle of the ear, because the vagal nerve has very close to the surface at that point. A low application of energy. It constantly stimulates the vagal nerve. And over a few weeks, maybe 8 to 10 weeks, that vagal nerve deregulates. It tones down over time. So because of that, the vagal tone decreases throughout the body, and systemic inflammation can decrease with it. So the science behind these technologies is very sound, and it just takes diligence to apply them. I don't have a slide. It was too late. There's actually a Belfast company just this week got FDA approval for vestibular nerve stimulation. So this is actually, the vestibular nerve is another access point. It's right behind the ear, and the FDA have just approved it for post-traumatic stress disorder because the vestibular nerve is connected to the hippocampus. So, and it's that mechanism that's really active in the reprocessing, the reliving experience of PTSD. So that device can now be prescribed by doctors in America for PTSD, which is a huge advancement. This is probably my favorite slide, actually. Yeah. So this is psychedelic-assisted psychiatry. So it's not technology, obviously, but it is an advance. So we have compounds that have been around for a very, very long time, have been used in other areas of medicine for equally long time, but have a mental health application and must be included in our arsenal, would be my argument. Top two are ketamine and psilocybin, the euphemistically called the magic mushroom compound. How they work, both through different mechanisms, is that they allow the brain cell to transform into a learning state. So it's about neuroplasticity. And in the neuroplastic state, it's called the window, the ketamine window particularly. It's important that that's done under in a particular way with particularly trained staff, because those staff, usually therapists, will then, the patient then will undergo particular forms of therapy. It's very important the type of therapy that they get whilst under the experience of ketamine and psilocybin. So you induce the cell into a neuroplastic state, and then you have this particular specialized therapy. And it is the synergism of these two actually that works very, very well. And later in the year, in my clinic in Galway, we're planning to open a ketamine service, IV ketamine. And so hopefully over the next 6 to 12 months, we'll have data, meaningful data to display to other people. And then just precision psychiatry. So this is AI. AI, as we probably have guessed and will know, has changed everything we do. It'll change everything we approach, certainly in medicine. Data, analysis of data, collection of data in ways we can't imagine how we have lived without it. We have to be both wary of it, and we have to learn how to use it properly. It can pick up trends. It can pick up neurolinguistic trends in psychiatry for prodromal illness. We might be thinking on it like maybe schizophrenia or depression long before it ever comes out as a symptom. So it's really important that we learn how to employ AI with proper clinical governance throughout of all of our practice. Even in terms of note taking and note capturing, there are many programs available now, and they will give you insights. There's always a piece of history you just haven't got at the time correctly, or you didn't realize appreciate the significance of it. So AI is a really, really powerful tool, but it can never replace the person or the qualified clinician. You know, people do not want to come in and talk to an AI machine. They want to talk to a person who is reliably trained and genuine. So that's our responsibility as a service. Thank you. That's it.
Want to come in and talk to a machine. Our final speaker, thanks Ivan. Our final speaker is Tony Canavan. Tony has worked, and it's appropriate that the final speaker would be somebody from the HSE and somebody who's held a position like this. Tony has worked in the HSE West for 30 years and has held a number of appointments in the Western Health Board and Mental Health Service, and then Chief Operating Officer of the First Hospital Group in Shielta. And we welcome him now to the stage. Thank you.
What can I say? You're hardcore is probably the best way to start. I should definitely say thank you. Fair play to you for waiting around on a day like today to listen to the likes of me. On the plus side, the return piece from me is that it's going to be quicker than I won't be as long as it'll take you to teach in 99. How about that as a promise? And secondly, I promise the learning here will be absolutely minimal. So if your brains are tired, honestly, this is not going to hurt you too much more. So it's not. I actually have only two messages that I want you to think about as you're driving home and as you're on the journey home, or maybe as you're walking towards the shop to buy that 99. And the two messages are: number one, and we'll come back to this over the next 10 minutes or so. But number one, my job is about more than just health care. It's about health as well, and maybe just to think about what that might mean and how that might be measured and how that might look. So that's the first message. My job is about more than healthcare. The second message is about the importance of community. And you might wonder, what it is. Well, why did he say it? Why does he even think that? It's kind of obvious, but maybe it's not. What did he mean? So that's the second message, the importance of community. So I guess I should do some little bit of introduction. I've worked in the health services for an awful long time, with some people that are sitting here in the audience and others not so much. But I look after the West and the Northwest. So that's counties Donegal, Sligo, Leitrim, a little bit of West Cavan, Galway, Mayo, and Roscommon. So I'm one of six. There are 6 regions across the country, 6 REOs. So that'll just give you a little bit of a sense of it. When I say that I look after those counties, of course, really what we do is we provide healthcare or health services to the people that live in those counties. And the 800,000 people that live in that region, they could be described, and they have been described as being dispersed, or they've been described as being rural or aging, dynamic and unique in some ways. So it's important to think about the various aspects of the population that we're serving. But as I said at the very outset, my job for those people is about providing healthcare, but it's also about making sure that in some ways, when I leave the job, that I've also improved their health in some way. So my plan over the next 10 minutes or so is to look at a little bit about the difference between health and healthcare and what that might look like, and to look a little bit at what we're trying to do with communities to develop the services that we're providing. I should say at the very start that I'm not in any sense coming here on a Thursday evening to speak from a position of expertise. I'm not, absolutely not. And I'm not even coming from a position of saying We've got it sorted. I've come with the answer for you. And apologies if you waited around for that, you've come to the wrong talk. But no, so it's absolutely not from that place. It's more about a little bit like confession, saying we've started this, we think it might help, and we're on a kind of a learning journey at the very, very start of it. So, and maybe that might encourage people to kind of ask similar questions of themselves. So that's my plan. Like I say, it'll be quick and it'll be easy. Great. So, for most of you, the learning is going to be really simple because this is something that you'll have seen and intuitively people know this. When we work in the health services for a long time like I do, and we've got really big important jobs and all the rest of it, you tend to think healthcare is the most important thing that we could do to impact on the health of the people that we're looking after. But of course the truth is that isn't the truth. Healthcare is part of it. It's an important part of it. But look at all the other parts that we know are more important as well. We know that, where a person, the socioeconomic factors that that are relevant to the person's life, they're more important by a long stroke. We know there's a very steep gradient that defines a person's health experience in terms of their income or their education status, family supports, and so on and so forth. We also know that their own behaviours are relevant in terms of their health and their health outcomes, the physical environment in which they live, and we do know that healthcare is important as well. The reason I put it up, though, is because we know it, but when you work in it, and when you work in healthcare and you're immersed in it for so long and for so much, you tend to forget it, so it's no harm to remind ourselves. Nothing new, of course, in that, and I think this is something that we've known for 40, 50 years. The UK, it's been something that people have understood for a long, long time. Michael Marmot is a name that's absolutely synonymous with this work, and he's looked at it very, very closely. But again, the focus is very much, that when we're all about reminding ourselves about how important we are as healthcare providers, actually when it comes to impacting really in a meaningful way on people's health, we're not the biggest player, we're not the most important part of it. So how does that tie in then with communities? Well, communities are important. And we'll come back to this again before I finish in a few minutes' time. But the way where people live and who they live with, that's important. That impacts on their experience of health. It impacts on how they access healthcare. It impacts on their lives and on their health as well. So what we've been just starting to try and figure out is how we're going to work with communities under the new regional structures to try and maybe improve the way that we deliver healthcare, but more importantly, try and have some sort of an impact on the health of the populations that we're serving. Great picture. So, in practical terms, what does that mean? Around our region, we've got lots of health services, and we engage with patients and we engage with service users in lots of different ways. We've got 6 hospitals. All of our hospitals have patient councils, and these are people who have probably used our services, or family members that have used our services that have come back to volunteer and be part of a patient council. And I think we're kind of familiar with that concept. Our mental health services, particularly in Mayo, have been really, really strong in terms of developing engagement with service users and involving service users in planning and developing their health services as well. Our maternity services, we run patient and service user surveys to understand their experience of our health services as well. So we've been doing this engagement in a lot of different ways, in different locations under different services. And what we decided to do in the West and Northwest, we would try and bring some of those strands together and hear directly from the communities that we're serving as to how we should how we should engage more in a more structured way with patients and service users. So this is a meeting that took place 3 weeks ago in Galway, and the people that are in the picture are people that are involved, just as I described earlier on, in different ways as patients, as service users around the region. And we asked them a lot of questions about about their experience of engaging with us and what person-centered care meant for them, for example. What would working together look like? And what was their experience of integrated care? And these are the kind of feedback that we received from people. It's not really surprising, but at the same time, it's good, I suppose, to start off that engagement and to establish that relationship on the basis of the information that comes directly from service users. And this, of course, is what we heard from them. We also asked them, how does the team work, and so that we could understand again how this could help to inform our activities. And again, this is some of the feedback that we received from them. I guess the piece that was most interesting was that people came and that they were interested and that they were prepared to give of themselves and give of their opinions and their ideas in order to contribute and develop the health services further. But it has allowed us to pull together what is going to be a charter for engagement with patients and service users, like a little roadmap that will define this is how we're going to engage with communities across our region, in the hope that, number one, we'll make our services a little bit more efficient, but number two, that we'll absolutely make them more centred around the needs of the communities that we're serving. So I suppose with all of that we are doing, and we are doing some work in terms of patient service users, the question is it working? And it's a good question to ask because it will take a fair effort and a fair investment, both in time and in terms of people, in order to progress this. And I think the answer to this is very simple. We don't know. We don't know because it's far, far too early yet. But we have some ideas about where it might be working. And one of them is the Integrated Care Programme for Older People, which at its very instigation, we involved patients and service users because it was a new way of delivering care, about taking care that previously would have happened almost exclusively in the hospital and moving it into a different setting, making it more available to patients and making it more accessible. But of course it was informed, the actual pathway of care itself was informed by patients and service users as well. So what are we seeing in the early days on the ICPOP team? Well, we're seeing that the rate of referral has increased quite considerably over time. That's good. We can see that the places where we're getting referrals from is increasing over time as well. But I suppose fundamentally what we can also see, if we look at go straight to the bottom right-hand corner, we can see that the number of people that are benefiting from that service yet still quite low. So we've got a lot of work to do yet to scale up our ICPOP team so that it's meeting the needs of more and more people across our region. But again, it's a good example, I think, of a pathway that was informed by patients and service users, a pathway that was designed to try and meet the needs of communities, that is definitely showing its worth. Of course, we also extended care in the community to a number of chronic disease areas as well, and we're seeing similar patterns. We're seeing that again, there's a new way of working, it's a new approach, and we're seeing that the rate of referral to it is increasing. But again, if we skip to the bottom line on all of these, what we see is that the rate of referral is still at a relatively low level, and of course the capacity and the need is far greater than that. So we need to push that further to develop it further. But there's enough of, I suppose, encouragement from both the ICPOP and the Chronic Disease Management Programme to say to us that actually, if we listen to the people that are living in our communities about how they want to receive care and where they want to receive care and why they want to receive them in those locations, if we respond to that, we mightn't go too far wrong. So both of them are good examples of that. Lots of you will know Donegal as a county, and it's again, there's a lot of work that we're doing within the county, but it's not a simple matter of just sort of advertising it and people will come. It absolutely isn't, because the scale of the county itself, geography is difficult. And geography can become a barrier to people's participation. So we've taken particular measures to try and support people so that they can input directly into the design and the delivery of our services. One of the areas in Donegal that people mightn't be so familiar with and that mightn't have visited is Tory Island. And I've used this as my last slide. I did say last slide, so just in case people are worried about time, we're getting very close to it now. So I use this as my last slide for a couple of reasons. It's the epitome of community. If you think about people living on an island, they've no choice but to be a community. They're locked in there. They've got the sea on all sides, So the question is then, how do we meet their needs as a community, but also how do we capitalize on all the opportunities that presents to us? And it presents lots of opportunities to us as healthcare providers. It also creates, I suppose, a very identified population that we can look to see, are we making a real difference? Are we improving the health of that population? A small population relative to the 800,000 across our region, but nonetheless a good example. And by the way, there are 7 islands like Tory Island off the coast of our region, 7 inhabited islands. Now, so that's the reason I put that up, because of the work that we're doing there. But there's another reason as well, of course. Could you imagine what Tory Island looks like today, with the sun shining and the sea perfectly flat? And what the hell are we all doing in here in this? I suppose, again, going back to the 2 points that I wanted to make and that I really do want you to think about is, think about my role and the role of my 5 colleagues. We look after 6 regions. My job is about trying to provide the best healthcare that I can, make it as efficient as I can, do the best with the money that we have, try and get the best out of the people that are working in our area. But my job is also about improving health. So the question that I ask myself is, how do I know that I've improved health? How do I do it? But how do I know I've done it? And that's the question I'm asking you maybe to take away and to think about a little bit, and maybe to mull it over, and who knows, maybe there'll be an opportunity for you to feedback on that one. And the second one is community. Community is important. If we can get level, if our structures support the delivery and the engagement at community level, we mightn't go too far wrong. Think about Tory Island. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. So, Tony, it really struck me, as a GP, obviously I'm working in the community, and I was very touched and impressed at your approach and your proximity to community and listening to what the needs are within the community and understanding that. And I'm always fascinated by patients. In the end of the day, they're very perceptive and they always tell us what they really want. And it's amazing how if we listen to them and we're closer to them, they really tell us what they need, don't they?
Yeah, and that absolutely happens in the individual clinical relationship for sure. But trying to get that to happen at an organisational level and make it productive, that can be a bit more challenging, So, and as I say, we don't have this SOS now, so we've made some good progress and we've got some good ideas and there's really good enthusiasm, but we've got work to do, and it's still. But I'm absolutely convinced that if we can engage properly with communities that we serve, we will make a difference to the health.
Yeah, I think that's really positive.
Yeah.
And I think in different ways, Mary, you spoke about it. I mean, Gavin, you're speaking about it. It's all about reaching into communities and helping healthier communities. Do you want to speak a bit about it, Gavin?
Yeah, I think we touched on the types of demographics that Technogym have identified that use our equipment, and I can only speak from a Technogym point of view, but it's very important that people feel part of a community, feel like they're engaging with like-minded people and feel like they can go on these different journeys, whether it's a healthcare journey with people that share similar traits and likes and needs and stuff like that. So I think having access to, being able to measure that, I think Tony spoke about is, are we doing a good job or are we succeeding? It's very hard to tangibly measure the outcomes of community-based initiatives. But I think that's where the kind of advancements in AI and data collection in digital technology can really help us to measure the outcomes. And I think when we start measuring the outcomes, we can start being very specific about where funding goes and how we can kind of put more into the projects that are showing better results,
Yeah, well, certainly when you see communities exercising together and these initiatives coming up from the ground up, they're phenomenal. And organizations like the GAA and their spread and what they do in the community. Mary, I mean, it really struck me about the isolation of young people. I mean, that's very stark, isn't it? Oh,
absolutely. And the loneliness epidemic. So it was always the older generations that would have been reporting the highest levels of loneliness. Now it's the 18 to 24-year-olds. And, loneliness not only affects our psychological and emotional, but also our physical well-being. And the US Surgeon General's report, described how described the loneliness epidemic and the equivalence to smoking. I think it's 8 cigarettes a day, like the impact it has. And particularly in the digital hybrid world, I think we cannot replicate the relational energy between people together in a room. I think it's great that we have digital connections, but it's really important to have the physical human connection as well.
Our psychiatrist, talk to me about loneliness.
Well, I can assure you it's a much bigger problem than you can imagine. Yeah. That's the sad reality. We treat a lot of general mental health, and we have child adolescent psychiatrists working with us. We treat a lot of ADHD, and we've treated thousands of patients. A lot of them will be the Gen Z cohort, and it comes back time and again, feeling overwhelmed, stressed, loneliness, being isolated from others, from school, the amount of young people who are actually not attending school at all, it would absolutely blow your mind. And but they're all on smiley pictures on Instagram, and so there's a real disconnect there, and it's a hugely complex problem.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really struck. Obviously in living in rural Tip, and there's been a number of suicides locally of young people. And you go to, you'd be maybe taking your children to the funeral, and there's like thousands of people lining the street and people coming out, and you feel if you've that level of community support, but they're isolated from that, how do you overcome that?
Well, it's the saddest thing that there is, really. And there's the phenomenon of once there's one, there's others, and. Sure. So it's almost like to have a domino effect. When one dies by suicide, another one can follow. It's extraordinarily complex. And I remember being at a talk, Dr. John Connolly, if you remember.
I do remember
Dr. John, a great man, another Mayo man, and he's a suicidologist. He's probably the only one that I know of, and his depth of knowledge on this one topic is immeasurable. And his talks actually will always say that it's the rarest thing to measure and the hardest thing to treat. And that really does, that's 20 years ago he said that to me. Yeah. And really social media has made things more difficult, I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, your journey, you've kind of gone in a slightly different direction from most psychiatrists that I know, right? Yeah. And, a lot of these treatments sound very exciting.
Yeah. Well, I was at a talk recently from a doctor in the north, and he said people like their devices. And it really struck me, because that is it. We are device people. We've become a device for the generation, all of us. And I can only tell you that in my career, I have never seen a tool like the TMS machine, ever. And I don't say that lightly. I've seen a lot of medication. I know people who are involved in trials of other antidepressants, and other types of community national initiatives from all walks of medicine. But this TMS device is absolutely amazing. And the reason it is it's so agreeable. I mean, I have treated every person that I can think of. I've had sessions myself. It is passive. The energy washes over cells. You can read a book. There's accelerated programs. Now there are accelerated programs of the accelerated programs. We're talking to a doctor from San Diego. She treats people who have resistant depression. She treats them with 20 sessions with a short protocol in one day. And they go from feeling pretty dour to feeling alive and well and functional in one day. I mean, this is shout from the rooftop stuff. But we need to educate people. We need to make it more accessible. It works better with other treatments. It's one of the hardest men in Ireland, I can tell you that now. I know this man from many months ago, and the service to try and build, I would love if we can incorporate it into what he's doing. If we do a national development program of targeted TMS therapy, like almost like Professor Kearns earlier. It's like God has taken over this thing earlier, but the multidisciplinary aspect. If we could do that for mental health in this way, we'd start tackling this isolation problem, I think, pretty quickly.
Mary, what do you think?
I think it is multidisciplinary. That is the key word, and a team, a collaborative approach, because it is multifactorial as well. And I think in healthcare, it's all the disciplines working together, actually, not in isolation, and looking at the whole person as a whole system as well. Yeah. So all of the key pillars around, their nutrition, their physical activity, their social connection, their resiliency activities, their sleep. Like, I think taking the whole system into account is really important.
Sleep is fascinating. Honestly, there was a major study published last summer, and it was a neuroimaging study, the way ADHD medications work on attention. And it actually turns out the new thinking is it tries to reverse the impact of chronic sleep loss over the years, probably since childhood. tries to reverse the effects of sleep loss. So sleep, kind of like back pain, we think about it as something you add in at the end. Actually, it should be one thing you look at first, along with health. It should be part of the whole preventative program, is look at your sleep aspect first. Physical health, leg strength, all these things, nutrition, they're really, really important pieces that should be there quickly, early.
Yeah, well, I suppose that whole focus on longevity, and obviously Eric Topol and others about the super agers, and it's interesting. I mean, your last video about the last 10 years of life, the difference it can be if you exercise, and you manage your life earlier.
Yeah, I don't think it's purely exercise. I agree with what Mary's saying. I think it's across many different factors, and I think there are platforms out there where this kind of generation are hanging out or where they're consuming information, and I think making sure that they're being met with the services that they require. So whether it's a traditional big box gym, that they might have access to TMS, or that they might have access to sit down and talk to a psychiatrist, or the language that's being spoken is they're aware of the different ways that they receive information. So I think there are huge opportunities to look at kind of regional sports facilities, for example, or to leverage the GAA, which have a huge, massive reach across. How do we collaborate and how do we work together to try and bring the information to that generation who desperately need it, by the sounds of things?
Well, I suppose it's those social determinants of disease, in terms of how do you actually, the question you quite rightly are asking yourself is, are we actually doing the right thing at all half the time? Because a lot of the things you actually can't affect, in terms of alcohol consumption, obesity, etc., diet, exercise in these, I suppose, deprived and marginalised communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't want people to get too despondent, particularly people working in healthcare, because we do have an impact and we do make difference. There's absolutely no question about that. But I do think it's important to remind ourselves about the things that are completely outside of what we do, that have such a huge impact as well. And that helps us connect, I think, better with communities that we're serving and understanding our role in respect to those communities, and maybe understanding their role a bit better as well, and the power that they might have to be able to make things different.
Yeah, thanks.
It can feel sometimes, Tom, a little bit about the advancements. I think somebody was speaking about 50-year-old diagnostic machines to try and I feel sometimes in kind of how we deliver exercise and fitness particularly is a little bit in the dark ages, and I think we have the ability to bring in new technology and to bring in new thinking into how we deliver sort of public exercise and fitness and things like that. So it's having that openness to take on new technology and having trials, and we're working closely with Peamount Healthcare now to try and create a facility that's specific to people in rehabilitation. So it's trying new things and being open to trying new things. I think can really help us.
I think so. So listen, I think at that we'll head for the 99s, is it? And thank everybody sincerely for sticking with us so late, and a round of applause for everyone. Thank you.
See you again. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks so much, Tom.
No, thank you.
That's great.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom. It was great. I really enjoyed your presentation. Yeah, it was grand. Oh yeah, the competition winners. Do you have them?
Sorry, our Top Doctor group giveaway is Stephen Davey. He's the winner, TU Dublin. I don't know, is anyone here to collect it? Probably not, but we'll post it out to him.
Exactly.
Super.
Great. Thanks a million. Is there another one?
There is. The Harmony Health.
The Harmony Healthcare IT competition. Prize winner.
This is the one on the app.
This is the one on the app, and it's Ciara Muldooney, lecturer, ATU.
We'll email her. I'll email her the prize.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks a million. Is there one more? There's another one. Trauma. And the good news is the Midland Escape, valued at €10,000, goes to Kerry McLaverty, Laura Lynn. Yeah. Hey. There you are. Congratulations, congratulations. What do you want? I'll come down to you. We go over. We better do it right.
Just here, as part.
Oh, no, you're
Nice
doing
happy
something.
ASMR.
Nice doing something. Nice doing something.
You know, that could be better. You guys deserve it.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Panelists, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That round
We
there,
got
I
them.
think they're all on the way here now.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
I worked with them for 5 years.
Did you?